Hey guys, it's Destiny and I'm back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I got this set and highlighting all my mistakes and just giving you guys tips on how you can prevent making these same mistakes. So let's get right into it. So right here, you can see I'm trying to get her to relax her hand so that we can cut the tips down. As a nail tech, it's important to remind your clients to relax their fingers, because if they don't, then you're going to end up doing a lot more work than you have to, and it's going to take a lot longer than you want it to. So here's the first mistake. I was filing her nail while her hand and her finger was crooked. You can see that it's clearly pointed to the right. That's why when you're filing, it's important to look at the nail from all angles and to make sure that the hand is straight facing you, not to the side, not crooked, because that's how you create crooked nails. And at the end, even if you don't think you see it, your client sees it for sure. So I'm going in and priming the nail. I always prime twice, and I always do one nail at a time. I haven't had any lifting issues with this method, so that's why I keep doing it. Everybody does it different, but for me, this is what works for me. She's looking at it and we're both looking at it and we're looking at the color and we didn't like it at all. So what we did was filed it all off and we decided to use Glamorous Nude instead. To me, this is like the perfect nude from Valentino. Like, I love this nude. Only have a little bit left, but yeah, what we were trying to do, that color just wasn't working. So we just filed it off and decided to do it over. Alright, so now to my second mistake. I was brushing acrylic down way too hard, and when you don't use light strokes, it just brings all the product down and it doesn't build the nail. It just brings the product down and you end up just wasting product. And the product's expensive, so you don't want to waste it. So just try to use light strokes and don't like brush down too hard, because then you're just wiping the acrylic off onto the towel. Alright, so mistake number 3, I was trying to build the nail with a bead that was way too wet. The liquid to powder ratio is important because you want to have something like the perfect bead. But when you use way too much liquid or don't wipe off your brush enough and just dip it in the powder, it'll create a bead that's way too wet that isn't going to build anything for you. So always just make sure that you're wiping off your brush before you dip it in the powder, and that you pick up enough product. Alright, so now for the nail art, I'm using Young Nails Mission Control gel paint. I'm using yellow and red. I mixed them together to make this orange, and I mixed more yellow than red to get it to this bright color. And I'm using a striping brush from Amazon from the McCart brand. She just wanted a simple outline on all her nails and then Chinese lettering on her ring finger. Alright, so now we've made it to our fourth mistake, rushing. So I do this a lot, and as you can see, I'm wiping everything off because I knew I was dead wrong trying to draw all that at once. I always say that gel polish expands. It expands before you cure it. If you leave it there too long, it just starts moving around on its own. So I knew better, and I should have just did the sides first and then tried to do the tip of the nail. So I went back and just did the sides first, cured the sides, and then went back and did the tip because it just made more sense. As a beginner, it always feels like you're in a race against time, and some clients, they are pressed about time, but if you let people know from the beginning that you're just starting out and that it may take a little longer than what they're used to, it's up to them at that point to decide if they still want to book with you or not. Rushing never produces a good outcome in my experience. So I always just take my time. Well, I try to take my time. I still be rushing sometimes, but I try to take my time because that's when you get the best outcome. And people that appreciate your work, they'll sit there, trust me. So don't ever feel like you have to race or rush to appease someone else, because technically you're in control. This is your show. Alright, so you see I'm going back and I'm doing a straight line across the tip of the nails now, and it looks way cleaner than it did at first. I always do the simplest things first, and then I do the design that is most complicated last, just to knock out the easy stuff. It all depends on the design that I'm doing. If I'm doing a character or something, I try to do the character first and then do like little accents later, but this is just lettering, so I just did the outline first because it just made more sense. Alright, so here we are, the fifth and last mistake. I placed the design way too far down the nail. So sometimes when you're doing a design in your head, it makes sense, but sometimes you have to map it out first. So we were doing the word love, I believe, in Chinese lettering, and it was supposed to say love and hope or something, another word, but her nails were shorter than the nails in the picture. So I'm like, okay, we'll just do love because that's all that can fit. But I placed it way too far down, so as you can see, there's a ton of negative space at the top. But we're gonna fix it and you're gonna see. So when I'm doing lettering, I try to do just a few lines at a time, just because when you try to draw the whole thing out, the gel polish is going to expand. I say this all the time, but it expands, and then it's going to make it look fat and weird. Like, it's just not going to look right. It's not going to look clean at all. So a few lines at a time. If the lines connect or intersect, do one line, cure it, and then the intersecting line, do second, because you want it to look as clean as possible. And also, I go over the lines twice, just so that it looks dark enough and it's not like see-through or translucent, whatever. So now we're gonna deal with that negative space, and we ended up just adding the first initial of her name at the top just to fill in that space, because it was looking really empty and it just throws off the whole thing. But it ended up working out and she ended up loving it, honestly. So this is what we went with, and we did it on both fingers, both hands, so that everything was cohesive. And I went over this twice as well. So when doing nails, it's always great not to panic if you feel like you messed up or you feel like something's not going the way that you want or you thought it would, because some designs do not come out the way that you think they're going to come out. But always have a backup plan, or always be able to think on your feet. Like, don't give up or feel, pressured or upset because it didn't come out the way you wanted it to, because things happen. And that was the purpose of me making this video, to show that, like, mistakes happen. Every set's not going to come out great. And even if it doesn't, you can always make up for it. Like, there's always a way to make up for something. So now I'm going over and top coating everything. They came out really good. I mean, besides the mistakes, they came out really good. But again, Nails, honestly, is just a learning process. You make mistakes and you figure out what works best, and you just don't do the same thing over. And even if you do, it's okay, but just don't make it a habit. But yeah, so now I'm just top coating everything and curing the nails, and then you'll be able to see the finished product. So here's the finished look. She ended up loving them, and also if you're still here with me, thank you for watching the whole video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you know when I drop another video. Bye.